Ever feel like your maintenance and repair operations are just stuck in a loop? You're constantly putting out one fire after another? Well, today we're going to change that. We are moving from that reactive, problem-solving mindset to proactive, strategic planning by building a complete M&R toolkit from the ground up.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by digging into the real challenge behind M&R strategy. Then we're going to assemble our toolkit, piece by piece. First, the tools for getting a clear picture, then the tools for actually building the plan, and finally, the tools to make sure it's all financially worth it. And at the end, we'll see how it all fits together.
Okay, so let's jump right into the big problem. See, without a real strategy, M&R is just a constant firefight. It feels totally chaotic because, well, it is. But here's the thing. With the right set of tools, you can actually take control. You can start shaping the future instead of just letting it happen to you.
And honestly, it all boils down to this question right here. This is about a fundamental shift in how you think. Are you an operational firefighter rushing from one crisis to the next, or are you an organizational architect building something that lasts? Answering that is really the first big step. All right, so let's start building the first layer of our toolkit. It's simple, right? Before you can figure out where you're going, you have to know exactly where you stand today. So we're going to start with the diagnostic tools, the ones that give you that crystal clear picture of your operations. Now, getting true insight means you've got to look in two directions at once. First, you need the internal view. That's using your own data to ask, how are we doing? But then you need the external view to ask, how do we stack up against the best in the business? You absolutely need both to get the full story. That internal view, it all starts with your reporting systems. These things are absolutely essential. They're basically the engine for your strategy. They take all that raw, messy data, work orders, downtime logs, parts inventory, and they turn it into clear information you can actually use to spot trends and make smart calls. And the most famous reporting tool out there is the dashboard. You should think of it like the command center for your entire M&R operation. A really good dashboard doesn't just throw data at you, it tells you a story. At a single glance, you should see your key metrics and get an immediate pulse check on how things are going.
But hey, looking in the mirror is only half the battle. That's where benchmarking comes in, and it's a game changer. This isn't just about seeing who's number one. It's about systematically learning from the pros, finding the gaps in your own way of doing things, and discovering fresh ideas you can bring back to your team.
Okay, so we've got insight, we can see our own performance, and we know how it compares to the competition. What's next? Well, now we need to draw the map that gets us from where we are to where we want to be. These next tools are all about crafting that strategic blueprint.
So here they are, the core of your planning arsenal. Now, we're just going to focus on a couple of key examples, but a really solid toolkit includes everything from a SWOT analysis and KPIs to things like a balanced scorecard and measuring your overall equipment effectiveness. Let's start with a true classic, the SWOT analysis. This is your foundational reality check. For an M&R team, right, a strength might be your super skilled workforce. A weakness could be that old aging equipment in the back. An opportunity, maybe some new predictive tech. And a threat could be a key supplier going out of business. It just forces you to see the entire landscape, warts and all.
So if SWOT gives you the lay of the land, then KPIs are your compass. They take you from these vague goals like, let's improve efficiency, to something specific and measurable, like we will reduce equipment downtime by 15% this quarter. They tell you with zero ambiguity if your strategy is actually working or just a nice idea on paper.
Let's be real for a second. A brilliant strategy that loses a ton of money isn't so brilliant in the long run, is it? So the final analytical piece of our toolkit has got to be the financial check. A great plan must also be a financially sound one, period. First up, the big one, return on investment, or ROI. The question it answers is dead simple. If we spend $50,000 on this new system, how much are we going to save in reduced downtime and repair costs? ROI gives you that clear, hard number you need to justify the expense.
Now, for the longer-term picture, we use a slightly more sophisticated tool, net present value, or NPV. See, a dollar tomorrow is worth less than a dollar today. NPV takes that into account, calculating the total value of a project over its entire life. But in today's money, it's how you prove that a big investment now is going to create serious value years down the road. All right, we've gathered all the individual pieces. We've got tools for insight, tools for planning, and tools for the financial check. Now for the really cool part. Let's step back and see how they all assemble into one powerful, cohesive system. It really boils down to this logical three-step process. First, you gain insight using your reporting and benchmarking. Then, armed with that knowledge, you craft your plan using tools like SWOT and KPIs. And finally, you run the numbers with ROI and NPV to make sure the plan is solid. You see, each stage builds directly on the one before it.
And it all comes down to this idea right here. There is no silver bullet. A truly great strategy isn't about finding that one perfect tool. It's about becoming a master craftsperson, knowing exactly which tool to pull from the kit for which job, and how to use them all together to build a stronger future.
So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Now that you've seen the whole strategic toolkit laid out, take a second and think about your own operation. Right now, today, which one of these tools is the most critical one for you to start using to hit your goals?